According to these claims made by Guardian Legal Network, major companies such as Activision, EA, Epic Games, Microsoft, and many other major producers in the games industry have failed to warn minors about the risks of video game addiction. For too long, video game addiction has been dismissed as an accepted side effect of digital entertainment. However, the reality is far more serious. Young lives have been derailed, educational prospects lost, and mental and physical health compromised. If you can't brush your teeth, control your emotions, or show up on time to work, maybe you should look in the mirror instead of blaming Rocket League. Hello fellow travelers and welcome to the Hard Light Network. So on this channel we've covered several gaming related lawsuits. However, today's coverage is a little bit different as the target of today's lawsuit is not an emulator or some fan-based project, but is actually the game companies themselves. Recently, while doing my regular browsing on YouTube, I've encountered some ads promoting the legal services of the Guardian Legal Network, who are currently engaged in a massive lawsuit against major video game producers. According to these claims made by Guardian Legal Network, major companies such as Activision, EA, Epic Games, Microsoft, and many other major producers in the games industry have failed to warn minors about the risks of video game addiction. We're going to dive deeper into the nature of these allegations later on in the video, but before we get into it, guys, do me a solid and hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on this issue. Also, if you want to support this channel further, there are super thanks and memberships options down below. Be sure to join today for access to exclusive content and perks that you can't get anywhere else. But without any further ado, let's get into today's video. So as I stated earlier, the impetus for today's video came about when I saw an ad for the Guardian Legal Network, which prompted me to look at their website for some more specifics to the nature of their allegations. After a quick Google search, I was able to find their video game addiction lawsuit page, which reads as follows. Are you or someone you know struggling with the impacts of video game addiction? It's time to step out of the virtual world and into the realm of justice. Our mission is to support individuals, particularly young adults, who have suffered due to the unregulated lure of video games. This legal action is not just about compensation, it's about holding video game companies accountable for the hidden dangers in their products. Further down, we can read about the supposed consequences of video game addiction. Quote, for too long, video game addiction has been dismissed as an accepted side effect of digital entertainment. However, the reality is far more serious. Young lives have been derailed, educational prospects lost, and mental and physical health compromised. If you began gaming as a minor and are now facing the consequences, you may be eligible to join the lawsuit. Going further, the site also lists supposed injuries linked to video game addiction, such as mental health decline, including ADHD or ADD, anxiety, depression, irritability, and more, physical health issues such as gamer's thumb, carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, and more, life impacts such as the loss of education, loss of income, poor hygiene, sleep deprivation, loss or lack of friends at school, and more, and withdrawal symptoms such as experiences of aggression, gamer rage, or withdrawal from life activities. And finally, we have a little bit of background on this lawsuit. Quote, this lawsuit is rooted in the failure of video game companies to warn minors about the risks of video game addiction. We aim to hold these corporations accountable for negligence and its impact on the lives of young gamers. If you've suffered due to excessive gaming, your story matters, and justice can be sought. Your journey from gaming addiction to recovery matters. Let your voice be heard, and let's work together to ensure future generations of gamers don't face the same challenges. Join us in this pivotal movement for justice and accountability in the gaming industry. Of course, the defendants are also listed as follows: Activision Blizzard Incorporated, DBA Ubisoft Montreal, EA Digital Illusions, Electronic Arts Incorporated, Epic Games Incorporated, Infinity Ward Incorporated, Microsoft Corporation, MyHoYo, Respawn Entertainment, Riot Games, Rockstar Games, Sledgehammer Games Incorporated, Treyarch Corporation, Ubisoft Divertissements Incorporated, and Ubisoft Entertainment. In order to streamline the qualification process, the Guardian Legal Network also included a window at the top right of the page to find out if you qualify. This contains a drop-down box with one of two questions, the first of which is, do you play one of the following games? And it lists Call of Duty, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, Roblox, or none of the above. Upon selecting a game, it takes you to the second question, which states, did you suffer any of the following or require assistance as a result of gaming? And the drop-down box includes the options dropping out of education, inpatient treatment, outpatient counseling, individualized education programs or tutoring, seizures, suicide attempts, supplementary security income, social security disability insurance, or none of the above. However, the Guardian Legal Network, sponsored by Goldwater Law Firm, is not the only law firm that is pursuing legal action against these companies. Tor Herman Law, LLC, is also pursuing a similar case against many of these same developers seeking damages. The claim is that these companies have intentionally designed video games to be addictive and harmful, specifically towards young children, in order to hook them on gaming. Their claim is that video games in general are addictive and have caused harm to hundreds of people. In order to gather more information about these suits, I called each of the law firms in question.
Good afternoon, Tor Herman Law. This is Nikki. Can I help you?
Hello, Nikki. My name is and I was calling to see about the video game addiction lawsuit. I just needed some information about it.
Okay, basically what we're doing is a brief screening. The questions are already generated in the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Have you went on our website and completed anything online?
Yes, I'm on the website right now. Oh, I just had a couple of questions about the lawsuit itself. I saw that there was another suit from Guardian Legal Network, and they were saying it's a mass tort. Is that the same case for Tor Herman Law?
Yes.
Okay.
We handle mass tort cases. It's not a class action.
Okay. And what does that mean exactly?
So mass torts is based off of each individual's injury or diagnosis, and so they're cases that's handled separately from like say for instance in a class action, someone filed the suit and then everything is based off that one person, like the person that started it get the most money. This is based off of each individual's injury, like I said, or diagnosis, and so we don't know what the compensation will be, but once they gather all the medical information and the details pertaining to that client's case, then it has to be reviewed, and once they start, the litigation goes through, because it hasn't went to trial or anything yet. We're just still gathering information and clients, to start the litigation. As far as I don't know how they're going to proceed after that, because I'm not the attorney, an attorney.
Yeah.
But basically, say for instance, if you complete everything online, they review it and it comes back and say that you have a case, then your case will be assigned to a team, and then from there, the team will start reaching out to you to gather information to find out, I know in some of the information that you're completing, it says when you started, when did you stop, or how long, things like that. But then the team will ask additional information, questions as well, to gather additional information.
Okay. And is this a civil case or a criminal case, or?
This is like a personal injury, because they're considered that people are getting injured. They're either harming themselves, or they've been diagnosed with ADHD or different things.
Okay.
So it affects everyone differently.
Alrighty. And is there how would I know you're not an attorney, but how would we possibly present evidence for that?
That's when, I guess, once you complete everything, then they'll send you out something else to gather that evidence on how long, what video platforms you played on, like our social media platforms you played on. As far as I know, some people might not have the receipts on when they purchased a game, But if you did things online, like the bucks, I forgot what they're called, with like Minecraft and
Mhm.
PlayStation and all that, that you can get that information showing that you were on it when it started. I know some go back further than some would do now with everything going on with the kids nowadays.
Mhm.
But I don't know what all they would ask for, but it will be in that in that sheet or with when I say like I said when you get signed to a team, then they'll start. That's where all the additional questions and information will come from.
Okay, and my last question would be: have there been other cases like this before, or is this sort of like a new thing?
This is a new thing.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for the information. I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thank you for calling the Goldwater Law Firm's intake team. A human agent will assist you very shortly with the next steps with your potential legal claim. Your call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance purposes.
Hold on one moment, because I'm having issues with my computer, please.
No problem.
All right. Well, I don't have your name, but it says here maybe it's related to the video game addiction.
Yes.
So my name is Ali, and I do the intake at Goldwater Law. Basically, my job is to ask you a few questions to see if you qualify for a claim. Do you have a few minutes for me?
I do.
And have you previously signed documents with an attorney for this claim?
I haven't. I called Tor Herman Law for some information, but I haven't signed with anybody.
Do you have some questions about the case?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, what sort of case is this?
What sort of case? What do you mean?
Like, what is that, a civil or a criminal case, or is that class
this
action?
is a mass tort.
A mass tort?
It's mass tort.
Could you explain that for me?
Yes. So, mass tort. So there are hundreds of people that are playing have video games, and they're addicted to the games, and they are suffering from like issues. And if they qualify because of the amount of them and the type of games that they're playing, if they qualify because of the amount, so it's a mass tort. A class action suit is 1,000 people. They all looked at them as one person. But with a mass tort, 1,000 people, they look at each case individually to see what type of damages they have. So it's very different.
Okay. And is it a matter of criminal law, or is it a civil case, or?
I don't think it's criminal, but I don't know all the details about it. It's a federal civil it's a legal procedure in federal civil litigation, but it doesn't say it's a crime.
Okay.
So
Now, would they be seeking to change the laws around video games, or like, what is it? We just getting compensation, or?
well, in general speaking, when we go, there's a lot of people that have different claims for different issues, and there are negligence on the part of the manufacturer or the responsible party, and of course eventually they will change some things. That's the goal, not to harm the people. So video games are very addictive, and there are some video games that are extremely addictive, and they're hurting people's lives.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why. I think one of the goals, yes, of course, people are gonna get compensated somehow if they win, but another goal is for things to change so that people have better lives.
Yeah, I'm just worried about, like, if the case goes to court and everything, if it'll be like how it wouldn't be perceived that, like, I'm the responsible party, like, because I've played video games for a very long time, and I'm just worried that, like, I've spent a lot of money on it and a lot of time and stuff, and I'm just worried that, like, the argument will be that, like, I'm responsible for my own actions, right? Because, like, I've played games ever since I was a kid, but I'm just worried about how it'll be perceived, like how they'll argue.
Yeah. Well, for us right here, I haven't. You're not meeting the criteria for the video game addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So we wouldn't be able to help you. Just I understand, and I'm sorry that that's affected you. You're just not meeting our criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is that we're going to send you an email with some other resources, and you can reach out to them and see if they can help you out, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. In the United States alone, nearly 50 million people are suffering from one form of addiction or another. This can be a highly sensitive subject for many people who might know someone who is struggling for addiction or who are struggling with addiction themselves. While there certainly are some valid criticisms to level at video game companies for including mechanics that contribute to unhealthy behaviors such as loot boxes or microtransactions, I think it's important that we don't lose the forest for the trees. While there are several studies exploring gaming addiction, many of these studies are limited in that they do not include external factors that could exacerbate underlying issues associated with gaming addiction. In contrast, there are also several studies showing the benefits of playing video games, as well as the lack of a correlation between large amounts of time spent gaming and any negative consequences. With some critics even going as far to argue that concerns about video game addiction may be based more on media hysteria than any actual scientific evidence. For example, many studies do not distinguish between different types of video games and do not evaluate other correlations such as time spent studying or reduction in primary or secondary school performance. Before closing this video, I wanted to talk about the nature of the case itself and the fact that it is a mass tort rather than a class action lawsuit. A mass tort is a civil action where numerous plaintiffs file lawsuits against one or more defendants for similar injuries or claims. The reason why this is significant is because the nature of the dispute between civil and criminal cases differ in several ways, one being the parties involved, two being the burden of proof, and lastly being the outcome. In civil cases, such as a mass tort, disputes are between private parties. The burden of proof is much lower, and the desired outcome is often compensation. In criminal cases, evidence must be presented beyond a reasonable doubt to ensure a conviction. However, in civil cases, courts will accept a preponderance of evidence in order to determine damages. What this means is that in a civil case, rather than the prosecution having to prove that the defendant is guilty to such an extent that there is no reasonable explanation that can arise from the evidence presented at trial, the plaintiff only needs to prove that there is a greater than 50% likelihood the defendant caused damages. In short, the only reason why these law firms are pursuing civil damages rather than criminal charges against these companies is because they only have to convince 51% of the jury that these companies are responsible for any damages. It's an easier fight to win, which means more money in their bank and another feather in their cap. In my opinion, it's not surprising that they're suing the developers of Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Grand Theft Auto, and Call of Duty. This isn't about justice, and it isn't about hearing anyone's story or setting them on the, quote, road to recovery. These lawyers are carrying on shamelessly, talking about holding video game developers accountable while engaging in the abusive and manipulative action of shifting the blame for their clients' behavior. It's not Fortnite's fault that anyone has ADHD. It's not Minecraft's fault that anyone is depressed. It's not Call of Duty's fault that people are failing in school. And Grand Theft Auto isn't giving anyone any gamer stink. If you can't brush your teeth, control your emotions, or show up on time to work, maybe you should look in the mirror instead of blaming Rocket League. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. I really enjoyed making this video in particular. If you can, do me a solid, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comment section down below with your thoughts. Is gamer addiction actually ruining anyone's lives, or do parents and players need to be held to account for their own actions? is, are game developers intentionally trying to ruin the next generation, or are they just trying to make a dollar? Regardless of where you land on this issue, I want to hear your thoughts down below. But of course, I've got a lot more to cover in the future, so as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.